So, did you make contact with aliens? Were you taken to another planet, to a mothership? How did they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. Do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden. As a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I am the void one.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
Broadcasting from New York, upstate near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Joe Roop, and we are live on Fringe.fm, KTLK, digital broadcasting. We're here for you 5 nights a week, 9 p.m. Pacific to 11 p.m., and the network website is Fringe.fm. The call-in number for tonight, when we open the phone lines up, is 1-800-588-0335, and you can call in as soon as we get those open. You can also join our Discord at fringe.fm/chat room to play around with the cool kids in there, or if you go to the network website, you can click on the Discord banner. And tonight I don't have the Mighty Rohan with me. I've got the one and only Night Stalker here. What's up, Night Stalker?
What's happening, brother?
It's been a minute, right?
Happy World Paranormal Day. Yeah, it has been a minute. I've been busy. Been working.
So we're gonna have a pretty cool guest back on. Hasn't been on the show in a bit. Dick Kahn's about to join us here momentarily. Probably the world's most famous psychonaut amongst our circles of psychonauts. So we're going to get into DMT, the spirit molecule. Is it really a spirit molecule? There's probably only a few people that know the answer to that question, and I can't wait to go down that road myself. But man, you haven't been on the broadcast in a while. Before we go down that, let me just say, if I got to make a couple announcements here. So we're still working on the Deep Void project. That's going to be coming out soon. Also, make sure you sign up to the event that I'm going to be at in Arizona at the Petrified Forest Mountains. It's going to be me and Owen Hunt and Randy Powell. So we're going to be presenting with Grimerica out there. And it's going to be cool. We're all going to camp out, stay for a few days. If you go to grimerica.com, go to events and then look at or grimerica.ca, sorry, and go to events and look at it's February the 13th. So you got plenty of time, but the tickets are selling out. And you can go to our website too at lightingthevoid.com, and you can also go to the events there and you'll see the event as well. Yeah, man. It's going to be fun.
February.
I'm going to
do February maybe.
I'm going to do a whole presentation on magic and stuff there. And you know what else? Tomorrow, the episode of Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli will be out that I was on today. That was fun.
Yeah.
That's fun, man. I got to, it's I got a compliment right off the bat, right when we started the show. They're like, "Oh man, it's so nice to hear the sound of a professional," because they usually have to they usually have to deal with everybody's sound and stuff too, right? So they were cool about that. And he's like, "Well, how do you pronounce your name?" And I said, "Well, it rhymes with poop, right?" And he goes, "Dude, that must." I was trying to set up a joke for him, and he said that must have been a tough childhood. And in the beginning of the podcast, he totally accidentally said that, and they had to redo it. And it was a good time. It's different being on a comedian's podcast for sure.
Oh yeah, that show is way different.
Yeah,
that's a good show though. Like that's in my regular rotation of podcasts I listen to at work. It's fun. Yeah, It went good though.
Yeah.
I was worried. They like to go heavy with the they call it the dark arts occult ritualism stuff.
Yeah,
that's
we
what
talked
they call
about
it, the
that.
dark arts stuff. So I was worried they were going to bombard you with too much magic is evil type stuff.
Well, I mean, that was kind of the topic. That was kind of the discussion. Yeah. So anyways, like it'll be out tomorrow. I'll put the links out there for everybody to listen to it. It'll be cool. It'll be fun to listen to. I hope. I don't know how they cut it up.
No, it'll be good. I'm pumped.
Yeah. So what do we got real quick in the news? What do we got, Night Stalker? Do you got anything crazy? Or just,
man.
What is this stuff about these? What are these things called? Xenobots?
Yeah. So last year they were making these living robot things. Basically, the same company is making the Xenobot 2.0. They're doing the same thing they did last year. That same whole story, but they're just making it stronger, faster. Like it can adapt to being hurt. Like if you try to kill it, it's basically making it harder to kill now. Pretty much this is the start of the movie. If you're making an alien movie, it would go back in 2021. They thought it was a good idea to make these Xenobots unkillable. They'll regret that. And I mean, this is the typing in the beginning of the post-apocalyptic
just so
movie.
Anybody that's listening don't know what a Xenobot is. These things were created from the University of Vermont. They created tiny self-healing biological machines from frog cells called Xenobots. And they can move around, push payloads, and even exhibit collective behavior in the presence of a swarm of another Xenobot. So they're little bitty, like...
living robots. Organic robots.
Tiny, like, microscopic organic robots that can do crazy stuff. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous. We're living in a sci-fi movie. It's crazy. Like the amount of space stuff that was in the news this past weekend, like there's all kind of stuff going down, like from pop culture to real dangers. Like, you're watching that show Debris. Have you seen that show Debris on NBC? I just caught up with it today. And it's kind of boring. It's okay. But it's one of those things where I wish there was a way to like buy stock in words or phrases. Cause like since this show came out, there's been so many debris related like news articles. Like today or yesterday, there was an article about this Chinese rocket that is possibly gonna land somewhere we can't, like some debris from this rocket that's supposed to like touch that back down onto Earth. It's uncontrollable right now, and it's like gonna hopefully land in the ocean, but they really have no idea where it's gonna land, and that's like
that's happened before. That doesn't freak me out near as much as the Xenobots do, though, dude. You could have Xenobots in your body right now and not even know it.
Yeah. I worry more about that with like them creating whole creatures that are gonna come and like track us down. Like they're kind of trickling out these different stories, like these robot dogs working with the police and stuff, where all these and like they're creating living robots, and they're making other stories about giving robots real biological muscles. And then other stories about giving robots like stronger muscles using like the model of a DNA helix to make them like stronger. So all these stories separately are weird, but together they're creating these super robot biological monsters in the lab somewhere. And that's like scary for the future. But like this debris thing, that could fall on us tomorrow. Like they don't know when it's going to land. It's like one of the biggest objects. This is like, it's pretty unprecedented. This hasn't really like happened before.
All right. So you can catch all of these stories that Night Stalker's doing on the Fringe FM Facebook, by the way. But this is probably the freakiest one, and then we'll bring our guest on here. To me, it's got to be the freakiest of all of it. Is so they're making organic muscles for robots, and now they're trying to make robots jacked up with stronger, super cooled artificial muscles like Schwarzenegger robots. They're using the double helix. Is this what you're talking about, man? You know,
this is what I mean. Yeah. So all these stories are separate. Like,
oh my
quote unquote
God,
scientists.
dude. See, this is the weirdest. This is okay. So you're confusing me because we jumped right from the one to this one. Okay. So they have little, so I get what you're saying now, right? In context, you're trying to say they've got little bitty robots and they've got muscular robots with DNA. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah. That's one group is they're trying to give robots like the way they're talking about it for like the one you're reading is about trying to make it they're for prosthetics and make it like that's what they're presenting it, but they're saying it's also for military purposes, creating like robots that can lift like those Amazon robots, whatever. They have a limit of like 20 pounds. Those ones that stack robots, but now you create ones that can like lift tanks and stuff. And then another group separately, the same weekend, the same
Not
story.
Tanks, get out of here. For real?
Or that's like where are they moving to? Or what kind of military applications could that possibly be? They're trying to move stuff, you know, if not people, like bigger stuff or whatever. And then other stories about giving them like biological muscles, actually trying to use real animal tissue, animal cells to create muscles, quote unquote, for these robots. That's a separate story. Same weekend.
So they're taking robots and trying to turn them into humans, and they're taking humans and trying to human augment them into robots. So
yeah, and those three stories are all separate, like that the Xenobot thing, the robot muscles thing, or the biological muscles thing, and the bigger robot muscles thing are separate stories. And then there's like three more stories about the military augmenting human beings, like creating cyborgs. So I'm picturing 50 years from now, we're going to have part human robots and part robot humans.
Yeah, that's what I just said. Like we watched that last week, that movie Upgrade, by the way. I told you guys when that movie came out 2018, that augmentation stuff was going to be the future, and that's what's happening. I didn't know they were doing it to robots too. They're going to turn us all into cyborgs, man. You know,
crazy.
Well, all right, so we need to bring on our guest here. Crazy stuff, Night Stalker. I can't believe
it's crazy stuff.
You know, the rule is ruled by mad scientists for real. I mean, it just is.
Yep.
Nothing you can do about it. All right, so we have Dick Gahn here. He's back with us, and he's the author of DMT in My Occult Mind, and he has DMT in My Occult Mind too. He has 2 books now, and he's got the light version as well. And DMT, better known as dimethyltryptamine, this experience represents some of the most important and interesting research in our world. We all know, of course, what Joe Rogan talked about with Strassman and the spirit molecule. But unsanctioned, I like this, how he puts it, unsanctioned DMT researcher Dick Gahn investigates the mind manifesting realities of hidden nature and attempts to understand what's at play with the deeply mystical and mysterious DMT experience. So the DMT in My Occult Mind series is a work of true creative vision that thoughtfully and rationally investigates the possibility of a parallel occult kingdom. So this guy is the brave man. Dick, you here with us, brother?
Yeah, morning, Joe. Morning, Night Stalker. I mean, good evening for you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, it's midnight here, man.
That's right. Yeah.
It's midnight here.
Parallel occult kingdom.
Yeah, you know, I was really enjoying listening about the Xenobots, and I wondered, has anybody tried to give these things DMT and see how they evolve?
Right?
Oh, no.
They are doing that. They are giving robots psychedelics, and they're trying to figure out if they can dream and stuff. And they are, pretty much. It's like, long story short, they are.
It's just weird. Freaky. That we are ruled by mad scientists. There's no doubt about it. And they're just doing whatever. Like, there's nobody saying, yeah, don't do that. We're already putting microchips in, like, you know, everybody's spinal cords and brains. And now they're like giving robots real muscles, and they got teeny tiny microscopic robots that work together, man. Like, they work together like machines, computerized machines. I don't know. It's freaky.
Yeah, I mean, part human and part robot entities. I mean, machine elves are going to be real.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't want to cut to the chase too much, but like, one of the big theories is that you try to make some kind of living robot so that you can create a vessel to house one of these things that you're talking about in these parallel occult kingdoms. Try to bring them through the wormhole and house them in these bodies.
Oh my God, I should have seen that coming. That's amazing. Yeah, amazing.
You see many machine elves in your trips in the DMT world?
Yeah, nobody. I think what McKenna was referring to is those visual, seemingly autonomous entities, those playful entities, and they can take many forms. And I assume that's what McKenna was referring to from my knowledge of his experiences, and you could call them all sorts, like tykes, goblins, pixies, and I suppose their movements is kind of baptized in machine elves, and that's my take on it.
Well, I'm just curious, do you really believe, and I'm assuming you do based on your book here, that this is an actual separate realm that we're just not aware of based on your...
Yeah. I mean, I believe there's multiple realms, but yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, these are from a hidden side of nature.
What do you think's the biggest thing that really makes you believe that? Like, I'm sure you've had tons of experiences, man. Last time you were on here, you told us about this 5-MeO experience that you thought that was pretty intense, right? But you thought you were a goner for a second. But what's the one feature of all of these trips and journeys that you take with this DMT that really convinces you that, yeah, there's definitely some other realm here?
Yeah, I mean, so when I took my research outdoors, one of the things that would occasionally happen is at the conclusion of an experience, might see a black orb UFO, what ufologists would call a black orb UFO, or, something like an Earth light transiting the sky slowly. And there are occasions where, I was able to bring my family out and say, check it out, look at that. And so it's like, it was no longer arguable that I'm seeing hallucination. I can bring my family out and say, look, that in the aftermath of an experience, check that out. But more so, and
wow.
again outdoors.
So doing DMT brought a UFO experience to like people who didn't take it?
Yeah, to my family.
Wow.
I'd be able to bring my family out and say, check it out. We've got a black orb UFO up there slowly transiting the sky. And, I've seen those things a few times. I'd like to say it's routinely, but it wasn't. It was occasional. But more so when outside, there were experiences where, I'd smoke a dose, and an entity would manifest in my setting without sort of imposing upon me, without imposing any visual scenery upon me. And I mean, try and imagine being laid in a garden and above you is a hugely oversized, multifaceted diamond, and you can like stick your arm and hand into this thing and sweep through its body of mind, let's call it, and see this long line of trace trails. And you can see this entity, you can feel the power it exudes. And when you've seen something like that, and I'm not talking like once or twice, I've seen these things several times, the big takeaway is, wow, there are some real astonishing, let's say, spiritual creatures hidden from our sight. And that's not me saying that's their true form. I don't know, it is or it isn't, but it's like, wow. And for me, out of all my experiences, they represented a triumph. It's like, okay, these are they that impose the machine elves, the visual wonders upon the user. It's not so obvious. You wouldn't be able to see that indoors, I'm sure, but outdoors it was unbelievable. In otherwise consensus reality.
Man, so did you see the UFOs? So this is probably a dumb question, but I got to ask: did you ever seen anything manifest from the realm, from the unseen realms into the seen realms, other than UFOs? But something that maybe you just didn't notice before, but when it was over, it seemed like it manifested from one realm to the next?
Well, Joe, I mean, for me with DMT, that's what's happening. So mostly people will say, oh, you know, I broke through and I went into hyperspace, and the assumption is that one leaves his or her body and goes to this realm. But I'm arguing it's contrary. I'm saying, no, you smoke DMT and something from a different realm will manifest in this realm, and it will impose upon you very powerfully, very rapidly. You all of a sudden, it's like, wow, I've gone to a different world. No, you are temporarily engulfed within the mind of a very powerful non-physical entity, and it's imposing upon you. It's putting you. It's essentially mesmerizing you, you know, and you're like engulfed in this world of color and wonder. And for sure, it looks like you've gone to a different realm, a different world, and the way that these powerful non-physical beings exit, you know, and disengage from this experience with human, that's so fast and so powerful. Sometimes it's almost like you've been spat out, you know, their way of departing. Yeah, and it's like, and it is. And I mean, look, when I first began, I was the same. I was like, where is this place? Am I going to a different realm? Am I going to a different planet? You know, it's such convincing illusion. But it is an illusion. So the big takeaway from me is, yeah, you know, it's some things manifest in this realm, you know, typically on a one-to-one basis, and it imposes a life-changing experience on the user.
Jeez, I've been getting really into like the MK Ultra connection with like contacting entities and like UFOs and stuff, and this fits right in with that. The idea that you're actually contacting, like, you're bringing things into this reality when you're doing when you're doing DMT. I've never heard anybody say that before. That's a first. Usually people say it opens the veil or something like that. But
yeah. Well, I mean, from my research, what typically happens? I mean, people talk about set and setting in relation to, you know, drugs, psychedelic substances, and even if we put non-physical entities aside, one of the most amazing things that DMT and other psychedelic substances do, but you know, time after time you can become familiar with this occurrence, is DMT really powerfully projects some substance from the user, whether it's spirit or astral fluid or mind stuff. I'm not really too hung up on the nomenclature, but in a room, you know, if you smoke a sufficient dose, I'm not talking a large dose, but a sufficient dose, the room all of a sudden looks crystal clear, like crystal clear beyond your beliefs. Like, wow, how did that happen? And what I'm arguing is that's a projection of some substance from you. It happens very powerfully, very rapidly. But the significance of that is it changes your set and setting and essentially acts as a signal that seems to be attractive to these powerful non-physical entities in whatever realm they're in. And one will typically very quickly manifest in your presence. And as I say, impose upon the user very powerfully and make it appear like, wow, I was in my bedroom. Now I'm... God knows where I am, but wow, it's amazing.
Wow.
Doesn't that make you want to do it though? Why wouldn't anybody not want to do that? You know?
I mean, I can think of a bunch of reasons. Like, how can you control what's coming in? Like, who knows what type of entities you will be trying to be contacting them, right?
But like I don't care. I mean, based on what this guy's telling me, like how many times before you go into the break here, how many times do you think you've done this, give or take?
I think about 700.
700 times. He seems to be okay, Night Stalker. You know, I think this guy's he's doing something that most people aren't doing, for sure. To make a statement, I would think, in a way. To say, look, maybe.
I think some people are like meant for that. Some people are like just have that in them, but like not everybody can get launched into space. You know, not everybody can.
I'm going to launch into space. No. Where there's a will, there's a way.
You know, as a child growing up, you know, it's like I always wanted to be an astronaut, and opportunities for that are few and far between. But being a psychonaut, I'm not saying that's second best. That's even better for me.
Right.
And
it's arguably more real too.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was, when I first began, I had no idea what was happening, but I was really determined to try and work it out. And there was one particular experience in the bedroom, smoked DMT, laid back. You can powerfully feel this presence, there was no visual component to the experience, but it's like, man, there's something in this room with me, and the atmosphere within the room. I mean, visually, the atmosphere is like, it's filled with this dense psycho-spiritual substance. And towards the end of the experience, I watched in amazement as this entity was filling the volume of the room. It slowly peeled itself from the walls and the ceiling and proceeded to glide out of the room through the door, but also through the walls. Like, those rayfish, the skates, how they move serenely with that wave. It was like that, but hugely oversized and extremely serene. And once I'd seen that was like the first sighting where I realized I'm dealing with spiritual creatures, with powerful non-physical entities. And from there, it was like, wow. And I got to be honest, having seen that, it didn't make the next experience any easy. It's a difficult substance to commit to, as playful and as enjoyable as the experiences can be. It's I think your mind knows at either conscious and or subconscious level, you're engaging with things that are more powerful than you or seem that way, and it's it's not always easy. It's never easy.
I'm ready. I don't know why. Night Stalker's probably thinking I don't know if I want to do this or not, but I'm totally down, man. We got to take our first break here. We'll be right back. More Lighting the Void coming up. Stay with us. It's non-physical.
That was cool.
Thank you.
FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Hola, Fringe listeners. This is Dave Cruz of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
This is Malorcas45, fan of The Fringe FM, challenging everyone to open their mind's eye. Listen to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop to gain precision for your third eye vision.
My name is Jake. I'm from Billings, Montana, and I am a void walker.
Hey, Joe Root. Thanks for lighting the void. This is Janine in the bluegrass of Kentucky, and I am a void walker.
What's up, guys? This is Damien from San Marcos, Texas, and I'm a void walker. I listen to the show to keep myself aligned with the world.
Hi, this is Laura, aka Laura Lavender. I'm from Las Vegas, and I listen to Lighting the Void because it helps me understand some of the strangest experiences I've had. So thanks for all that you do and for always being there for us, Joe.
Hi, this is Kronox from Belgium, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Roop.
Hey, this is country music singer and void walker Jason Benoit, and when I need my fix on the world of magic and the capabilities of the human consciousness, I listen to Joe Roop right here on Lighting the Void Radio.
Born out of the alchemical tradition of Paracelsus is a medical tradition called Spagyria. Though not many people practice this work today, Phoenix Aurelius has been researching and teaching this work for the last 15 years, and he needs your support.
Hi, I'm Phoenix Aurelius, and I'm the founder of the Phoenix Aurelius Research Society, where I perform modern scientific research on the methods and techniques of Paracelsian alchemy and Spagyria for health, wellness, agriculture, ecology, and more. All my work is 100% funded by the public, so if you like what I'm doing and you want to support my research, please consider making a purchase of spagyric medicines from my apothecary, fund your own spagyric IDF wellness research, or participate in my group study or one-on-one immersion courses so that you can learn how to perform this work for yourself. I want to thank you in advance for your support.
Visit thefringe.fm/alchemy research and enter coupon code FRINGE and receive 15% off anything and everything on the website. That's thefringe.fm/alchemy research. And thank you for doing your part and keeping alchemy alive in the modern day.
Lighting the Void. Our guest tonight, Dick Kahn's back here with us. We also have Night Stalker. He's here to help co-host the show. Tomorrow night on the program, we're going to have Caroline and Corey on. We're going to be talking about more conscious stuff, the simulated reality. And then Wednesday night, we're going to have Owen Hunt, and really cool guy. He's going to talk about living your purpose, manifesting your reality, and using love and humor. And then Sean Gonzalez later in the week. But we're on a journey tonight on Monday night, Moonday night with Dick Kahn here. And I was asking you during the break, have you ever had as we were comparing, well, you were starting to compare the DMT journey to the Astral travel journey. And I don't think the last time you were on the show that you mentioned having an out-of-body experience, though. Did you?
No, I mean, there's two separate things. There's classic out-of-body experiences that I had as a child, and they're documented in DMT and My Occult Mind Light. But then, and I think this is also in the book, and this happened only once. When I was 14, I had what I say was an astral journey. It was very different to the classic OBEs. It just occurred. I wish I could control it. I wish I could make it happen again and again. But what happened is I exited my body. It was morning time. I was in my bedroom. I was able to just will myself forward through the bedroom window. I was now outside the house. I was like some 15 feet above the ground. But it was the atmosphere outside that was very different to classic OBEs. With classic OBEs, everything, terrestrial is just how it is ordinarily. But with this experience, it's like, wow, everything had an aura, a radiance. I'm talking everything, the bricks of the house, the roof, the grass, the walls, the trees. It's unbelievable. And I, again, was able to will myself forward to the front of the house and travel, down the street, and everything just had this radiant aura, the cars, the walls, everything. And I went right down to the bottom of the street. I mean, even the air, this is why I say it was like an astral journey. The air was like dense and radiant. And I got to the bottom of the street, and I started to notice these like ovoid shapes, like large oversized eggs, but the boundary wasn't defined. It was like, it was like become more and more diaphanous, as you move away from the center. And I've since considered maybe they were like souls or something. I'm not saying souls of human beings, but once I'd seen those, it kind of like, I wouldn't say it startled me, but it's like, wow. And upon kind of like that wow, the experience was finished. I must have been dragged back to my body, at light warp speed, and that was the experience over. And that happened just the once at 14, and really wish I could make it happen again, but I cannot.
Yeah, it's not easy to do, is it? Right? Like people tell me I astral travel all the time. I'm thinking, good night. I don't know how you do it, right?
Yeah.
But
it's easy to say, isn't it? It's easy to say. I'm sure some people do. I mean, there's clearly some practitioners out there that have left behind bodies of work. Names don't come to mind, but I don't know. It's a life-changing experience, like DMT. It's like you would never forget that.
Well, what's like, and I'm sure Night Stalker wanted to ask this too, but is there any similarities of the two? Did you feel any similarities, or is it two totally different experiences?
For me, different experiences. A classic out-of-body experience and that astral journey at 14, very different to DMT. What I would say with the classic out-of-body experiences is that, there was this tremendous sense of, and I'm like 4 or 5 years old when this happened, and it came on because I would fight sleep. I was really fighting against that moment when you transit into sleep, and a feeling of falling backwards at tremendous speed, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, I'm outside my body. And again, you can will yourself forward and just go through the closed wooden doors and just go downstairs, and everything's just as it should be. The carriage clock, ornate carriage clock, is doing it, sort of turning one way and turning, and it's like, I'm 4 or 5 years old, I think, should I go outside? The thought scares me, or a car passes the window and it spooks me, and in an instant I'm back in my body, and then I'm waking up.
Yeah, see, that's the same thing that happened to me. I went out my body, I went outside, it was all the same world. Nothing was different, and then I went outside and I tried to fly, and I said, I'm going to the moon, man. I want to take advantage. I was like, I want to take advantage of this ASAP, and so I started going towards the moon, and it got really kind of weird, and I was back in my body. So apparently I wasn't ready for that,
Okay.
Or maybe you can't get to the moon. Maybe you just figure something out. Yeah, a lot of people just heard that and was like, oh wow, that's interesting.
Gotten to the moon, right? So here's the thing.
That's what they tell us.
With the DMT, I'm guessing that it's just an otherworldly is what it sounds like to me. Or otherworldly, we're not traveling anywhere. We're being taken or presented to. Would you say presented to, maybe?
I calling something in?
It sends out a signal to a powerful non-physical entity, and one will typically manifest and emerge in one setting. And it happens so fast. Sometimes it's near instantaneous, and what I document in the book, the model of that interaction, it took me ages to work out what was happening. And again, I'm not saying it's definitive. I'm just saying, look, this is a theory for consideration. One will typically emerge in one setting. It will, I say, mesmerically overpowers the user. There's the metaphysical mechanics of that breakthrough experience is that powerful non-physical entity will powerfully impose its mind upon the user, and then bang, it's like, wow, it looks like you're in a different world, and more so, that world looks more real than this real, like a really powerful lucid dream. And again, throughout all these observations, I think there's a science behind it. There's a science to be had, albeit it's a science of immeasurable realities. But the question, why does that reality look far more real than this reality? There is an answer there. I'm saying it's to do with the quality of the substance that those entities are composed of. It seems to be the same substance that projects from the user upon smoking DMT. Its qualities are, especially when it's imposing visually, it just seems like surfaces are just perfect without any perforations whatsoever. You know, the colors are just astonishing, and I think it's because of the quality of that substance, that mind stuff or astral fluid or spirit, whatever we choose to call it.
From like the layperson, from my perspective, from the layperson perspective, I would think it's because it's like almost clearing some of the filters we have imposed on us, like as we're walking around in these meat bodies or whatever. Like we can only perceive 5% of reality or 1% of reality or whatever, and maybe DMT is like giving you a clearer picture of what's really there. It's not taking you anywhere. It's just giving you more information than we have in regular waking straight reality. You know.
I agree. I mean, if we take my proposition back a little bit, I mean, you know, the very first thing that happens is you smoke the DMT, the molecules are in your lungs, they go through the bloodstream and arrive at your brain, and they do some magic unlocking of you know, doors up there. I agree that's the filters opening, but the thing that follows that is this rapid, powerful projection of this substance from the user. Now that the molecules unlocking, you know, the doors in the brain, that can be measured, you know. But where I sort of take it is like that next aspect with this rapid projection of mind stuff or whatever you choose to call it. It's a shame, but that can't be measured. You know, you can't capture that stuff in a jar and take it to the lab.
I think it was Dennis McKenna was talking about one time. Him and Terrence are doing like later on in Terrence's life doing like a crazy dose, and they Terrence thought that like he had like cracked the fabric of reality, and then all of a sudden like this, like he described it as like an iridescent metallic-y liquid just poured in through like. Is that kind of what you're talking about as far as this like?
Yeah. I mean, I've smoked in the garden, and this is on a dose that it was nowhere near a breakthrough dose, and you know, I mean, some 10 feet above me. I mean, this is on a sunny day, 10 feet above me. There's this, I don't know, it's like looking up at a puddle of mercurial liquid, and you know, I mean, this thing, like ripples would go across it, but not like ripples on a pond. You could tell the substance was different. The peaks of the ripples were really high and sharp and moved with such rapidity. That was on a low dose. I was like, damn, you know, and this thing is kind of like more, you know, it's kind of like communicating to me. Like, it's like saying, do you really want me to come down there? And I'm like, I'm good today. I'm good.
That reminds me of the Matrix when Neo the mirror starts taking over his body and he's about to go into the other realm. You were that liquid.
Looking up at that, and you know, it's spanning the kind of footprint of the garden, albeit 10 feet above me as I'm laid looking skywards.
Man, that's insane, man. But I don't see when people say, Dick, you know, this all sounds amazing, but I mean, you're just hallucinating, right? What do you tell those people?
Well, I mean, get out of here. I mean, it comes down to what his hallucination, you know, and it becomes quite philosophical, you know. I mean, just because the third party can't see it doesn't mean it's not real. If that third party then goes and smokes some DMT and sees something akin to what I'm seeing, well, what do they say? Do they just say, oh, it's just a hallucination? What's the nature of that hallucination? I mean, the black orb UFO that my sober family have seen, that's not a hallucination. So
that is blowing my mind. You blew my mind with that story. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. You can't prove it. All you can do is say, look, you know, if you have the opportunity, go and see for yourself, and then, you know, interest you, pursue the experience time and time again, and come to your own ontological consideration of what's occurring. I mean, it'd be great if I could film these experiences or capture them, but we can't, you know, dealing with immeasurable realities. But behind all that, you know, in the ancient world, we've got myths, we've got legends, we've got religions, we've got folklore. I mean, every nation of the world has stories and religions that talk about otherworldly beings, whether it's ghosts or demons or angels. You know, that's one of the things that mankind has as its inheritance, you know, these stories.
Well,
totally agree.
I am the Void Walker 001, so I will take that journey, and I'll let you know. You know, because
you've done it 700 times.
700 times is a wholly different thing. That's you know, I could try
experimenting with.
I could try it once, and then maybe not break through or whatever, you know, but after 700 times, I mean, people should be consulting you on this stuff, brother.
You're a master. That's what I mean.
You should be a consult for it.
10,000 hours, you know, like, geez Louise.
Well, I mean, what I read before you know, before I took DMT, I did a lot of online research. I mean, just reading trip report after trip report after trip report. And what some people seem to be saying is that the longer or the more one takes DMT, the stranger the experience has become. I will attest. That is 100% right. So, you know, some of my later experiences, had they been among my first experiences, I would said, no, I'm not going back. So it's like there seems to be there's an intelligence behind these experiences or these entities. They seem to know just where the user is at. I mean, when I first started, it was all like clowns and jesters and elves. It was the real fun stuff, you know. I mean, more fun than you can ever begin to imagine, you know. Just beautiful. But then slowly and subtly they change over time, and I think they know where you're at and what you're ready for. And you know, I've had experiences that have made me cry, not with joy, but you know, it's like, wow, that was an incursion upon my being, you know, and bawled my eyes.
Wait, what do you mean? Like you cried?
Yeah, I mean, so there's different aspects to these. So by and large, the breakthrough experience is it's a highly visual experience. The powerful non-physical intelligence engulfs you and imposes upon you visually, but they can also impose upon you invasively, and I don't mean coercively. That there's no malice or threat here, but these beings can invest a portion of their body of mind within your physiology, whether it's in your cranium.
Oh no.
No. I mean, honestly. So I mean, I've had an entity rummaging around in my abdomen, and I've had them in my cranium. I've had them in my chest, the rate cavity, in my mouth, and again, the thing with these entities is, as I say, they know exactly where you are emotionally, and if the user were to experience that and decide they didn't like it and were moving to panic, that entity will be gone in the blink of an eye. I promise you, it will be out of there. So they know it. Go on.
I'm right on board with everything you're saying, and I agree completely, but I just have to ask these more darker questions. Like, you seem to be in a great headspace, like, and you seem to be like selected for these quests. But like, back to like the MK Ultra thing, what if you're like in a really dark setting? What if you're being like traumatized and is it possible to maybe like the same thing happen, but with maybe darker entities on lower realms or something with a more dark twist? Like, because what you're talking about sounds like an awful lot like demon possession. if you were coming at it from a different
perspective. Oh, I mean, for sure. I mean, so some of these experiences. I mean, look, good things don't come easy. You know, to pursue this time and time again. It does take some determination, shall we say? And I think sometimes these entities have given me an experience, and it's kind of like, you know, it's like if you don't overcome that and go back, then that's the end of the research. You know, it's like an obstacle. And what I found is that after going back after these challenging experiences, the next few experiences will be incredibly rewarding, you know, I mean, just beautiful, playful and that. So I think sometimes I'll throw up a little wall and say, you know, there you go. If you want to proceed, you got to get over that wall. You know, and I have some followers and users, they'll come to me and say, oh, I've had this experience and it's really challenging and I'm probably never going to go back again, and say, okay, well, that's fine. But, you know, it's, if you consider it from this angle, you know, they're just throwing up a bit of a wall, then, you know, if you can get over that wall, then you might find the next experiences are really good. But, yeah, I mean, I've had people come up with all kinds of stories, you know, a chap in Brazil, he considered it brought something back into this realm and it wouldn't leave off, you know, the electricity in the house kept going on and off, and a strange thing, you know, like noises, the traditional kind of like poltergeist stuff. I've never had anything like that. I don't know, but for sure I've had, you know, I have hundreds of experiences. There are 3 that really stand out as like, ooh, you know, that was challenging, you know. I mean, the thing with these non-powerful, non-physical entities, through familiarity with the experience, you get to realize that there are certain types, they have a certain characteristic, you know, you can feel them, and some of them you feel completely safe with, you know. I mean, they're extremely powerful, but they're also intelligent, wise, compassionate. And I've had experiences with others, and it's like, ooh, this one's very different, you know. It's like, I don't want to fall out with this thing, you know.
Yeah. And like, I don't mean to like try to dissuade people from trying it. My first inclination was just like, what is the government secretly doing in some basement lab somewhere, some poor people, you know? But like, I know what you're saying is 100% true. I had to ask, you know?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I've had some interviews where people have really sort of teased out of me those darker experiences, and then I've come away from the podcast thinking, oh man, I hope I'm not putting people off this experience, because as I say, it's, you know, like when you're a child and it's like it's your birthday party, or you're playing with your friends and it's like you're laughing and you're having so much fun, and it's like life is just wonderful. This is like that for adults times 100. You know, when it's good, it's like it's beyond compare.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Wow, man. Have never heard anybody say the entities can get in your body and see, because that's the thing that I worry about, because I'm a pretty emotional dude, man. Like, I mean, I think we're all emotional people.
Me as I mean, they're there temporarily, you know. I mean, look, I feel I was like slowly brought on to that change in the experiences. Just to give the example, you know, I mean, people say DMT experiences are like, but I would typically come home from work, I'd go upstairs, I'm at the top of the stairs, I'd smoke a breakthrough dose. And, you know, it looks like I'm in this different world. In this world, there are these human-like entities. They're all walking. They're moving about in this strange manner, smiling at me, welcoming me. You know, it's just wonderful. And then next night, you know, it's the same again. It's like, oh, man, I was here last night. You know, it's exactly the same. And then the next night, same again. It's like, man, that's a repeat experience. And in my mind, it made me consider, maybe I've gone as far as I can with DMT. Maybe you know, I've reached the end, which was a really stupid thing to think. But then the very next day I came home and smoked again, and it was this unbelievably, you know, it was a visual experience, but it had this invasive aspect as well with those seemingly autonomous human-like entities. One dived into me, and then that was it. I could feel it in my throat cavity, and it kind of induced me to speak to Hollow. I was like, hey, you can't do that. And in shouting out, my voice was modulated to such an unbelievable extent. It sounded so strange. I felt obliged to speak again and again and again, just to marvel at the bizarre acoustic qualities of my own voice. So even though it sounds, the invasive aspect sounds, worrisome, it shouldn't be. It's all part of the same playtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, we got to take a break here, Night Stalker. Sorry, brother. Okay. I know you're ready to keep going there, but we're at the top of the hour.
No, sorry.
No, I want to keep going here too, but we're at the top of the hour. We'll be right back. Dick Hahn's here with us. We're just going to keep going down this rabbit hole.
Hey, this is No Way Jose, a Northern California Piscean stuck in the Arizona desert. I'm a void walker, and I got the shoes to prove it. So what do I do when my soul yearns to delve deep into the realm of the unknown? I aim my satellite straight into the night sky and catch a smooth ride on the KTLK-DB radio waves. I tune into Lighting the Void with Joe Roop on the Fringe FM.
Joe, Lighting the Void is the best show on the planet. This is Barney, your friend from Facebook. Thank you and all the crew for all you do. Namaste, my friend.
This is Macon from the foothills of North Carolina, and I am a void walker.
G'day, void walkers. This is Lily from down under Australia. The world may be small, the enigma is greater. So let your curiosity take you for a journey with Joe Root.
Hey, this is Fee, coming in from Central Maryland, and I am a void walker.
This is Kevin Doherty, a beginner void walker. I'm from Vancouver, BC. I know a little about a lot, and as Leonard Skinner said, I'll guess the rest. I learned a lot from Mr. Roop in the show, and I heard it from the beginning. I knew right then he was going to be a new art gal. Thanks for all your shows, and keep it up.
Hey, this is Derek from Mass, aka the Night Stalker, and I'm a void walker.
This is Mark from Chicago, and I walk the void to ascertain what is consciousness.
My name is Jared Johnson, and I'm from Humboldt County, California. I do not know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of a family of explorers of consciousness. I'm a void walker. Thanks, Joe Root.
This is Barbara Charlton from Metaphorical Archaeology. If you've ever had a traumatic paranormal experience, the effects of it may stay with you for years. Who do you talk to? You can't go to conventional help. What we do is we use emotional freedom techniques or tapping to actually neutralize the effects of that event. Maybe when you tell the story now, your heart races and your palms get sweaty. You don't even want to think about it because you don't know how to neutralize that. That's what EFT tapping does. It neutralizes those emotions. The circuit that was recorded on is gone. The energy flows freely and you're free of it. And that's what emotional freedom is all about. We offer this as a pro bono service, but this is something that I offer because no one, it seems, is helping people with these experiences. If you'd like to reach me, it's really easy. My cell phone is 214-995-3754. Please leave a message. I will get back to you as quickly as possible. Or you can email me, barb.eft@gmail.com. And EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. Reach out to me. It's confidential. This works. You won't believe the results.
Have you heard of heavy metals?
Yeah!
I'm not talking about the heavy metals in the junkyard. I'm talking about the heavy metals that build up in your body. Heavy metals in your body can make you feel sluggish, fatigued, and just plain off. Why not try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com? Cleansing your body and making you feel great. cleansing the inside of your body of intruders that sneak their way into you and set up an intruder camp. Life Change Tea helps remove unwanted intruder camps. Brew it, steep it, and drink in the results. Tastes great, so you can create a new health habit. Our tea loves to help people. It just needs the chance. So order yours today by logging on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Our Life Change Super Strength Tea is waiting. This could be a beautiful relationship. Take charge of your health. Order at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com.
The Fringe FM isn't just a radio station. We also provide services for all your audio production needs. If you are interested in live radio or pre-recorded podcasts, we're here to help. We even do audio enhancements and voiceovers if needed. If you want to do a podcast or live radio show and even want the option to syndicate on terrestrial radio, from simple audio file enhancement to live production and call screening, we have you covered. We have worked with some of the best professionals in the business in order to provide coaching instruction for content creation, show structure, and more. Contact The Fringe Digital Media for more at info@thefringe.fm. That's info@thefringe.fm, or call 501-777-5631 for a consultation.
From the Kingdom of Arkansas, you are listening to Joe Roop and Lighting the Void here on the Fringe FM.
Probably do need to mention that you did write 2 books. I think the last time I talked to you, you only had 1.
Yeah, so the original DMT and My Occult Mind, I've been produced the follow-up book, DMT and My Occult Mind 2. The writing style was much better in the second book, in my opinion, and the writing in the first book, it was too long, it was too wordy, it was too big, so I withdrew it. I retired it from sale, and then decided to revise it and release it as a much smaller, light version. Hence, DMT and My Occult Mind Light is now replaces the original, and DMT and My Occult Mind 2 is the follow-up.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Night Stalker was saying that during the break, he's worried about asking too dark of questions, but you know what? I think the asking dark questions are good questions.
Yeah.
You know?
Ask anything.
I got two quick questions. I'm just really interested in like the amount of experience you've had. That you've had so many trips. So like first, or like kind of connected, what would you say is like the ideal way for somebody to take it their first time, as far as like set and setting, like the amount of light, background music, and that kind of stuff, and then like taking it so many times? Are you like experimenting with different stuff? Are you taking it like in different settings? Are you like doing stuff while doing it, or have you like tried to mix it up to see if it changes the experience and stuff?
So for the first question, I mean, for setting, that will be down to the individual. I began indoors, and I think that's a really good place to do it. And I always, for whatever reason, preferred daylight conditions, and I kept my eyes open, and that's not what's recommended. Really, what's recommended is, like soft lighting or eyes closed. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you break through, whether your eyes are open or your eyes are closed, whether it's midnight or, noontime, you're not going to be seeing this reality. You're going to be seeing a different reality. In terms of set, I mean, when I first began, I was so enthusiastic about it. I'd done so much research. I was like, let me at it. So I was just filled with curiosity, no nerves whatsoever, that came later. So I think, I mean, look, it's a dark period for mankind at the moment with the pandemic and what's happening around the world. And if there's anything that mankind should be rejoicing about, this spirit molecule is surely that. It's sacred, it's blessed. It is, in my opinion. There should be, we should be rejoicing that we have access to this wonderful molecule. In terms of my own setting, or rather settings, I mostly experimented at home. I was not really interested in trying different locations at that point. I was more interested in working out what occurs, what happens after smoking the powerful substance. What are the metaphysical mechanics of these experiences. I have been, into the countryside and smoked it there, but no. And somebody had suggested, you should try and smoke it in different locations, and I might look at that. That's something I might look at in the future. At the moment, I'm working with 5-MeO DMT and Bufo, so I'm not really pursuing NN-DMT at the moment. But yeah, that's something I could look at.
What about like background music, like different types of like sounds affect you?
As same as with the daylight preference and open eyes preference, I dispensed with any music because I considered I was undertaking serious scientific research. Some people, especially academics, may scoff at that, but I wanted all my senses to be, as sharp as possible. What would typically happen is I would sit up, take 3 pulls of my pipe, and then as I'm laying back, in my mind, it's like, right, be sharp, be observant. I was like really determined to capture as much as I could from the experience. So that was in my mind. And as part of that, listening to the frequencies of those energies. So you guys know what tinnitus is, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah, so I've had that all my life. It's just innate. I don't see it as a problem. I'm completely comfortable with it. And when I first took DMT, and it wasn't a breakthrough dose. This is the very first time I tried it, and I smoked it in a makeshift pipe that wasn't really suitable. But the very first thing I noticed, and I was amazed by it, is it increased the intensity and the volume of that tinnitus that I have now and I've always had throughout my life. And I was like, wow, how can it do that? So I was really interested in listening to those frequencies. And over time, what I realized is I smoke DMT in my bedroom. My tinnitus increases incredibly in frequency and intensity. But then as a powerful non-physical entity arrives, it ramps up. It has this own palpable and audible energy, which goes way above anything that my mind can produce in terms of, that audible and palpable, that audible tinnitus. It just takes it to a whole different level. So I was really interested in sort of listening to those sounds. I've since tried music, smoking Bufo alvarius, and I like it, but I like music. I love music. I think with these experiences, I just like see what happens with my own mind in the silence, rather than have anything that maybe influence and direct the experience. Yeah.
Have you tried isolation tanks?
No, I haven't. No. I had an interview with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and with Float Universe, and he was, telling me the virtues of these, and it's something I'd like to try, but that
could be wild, yeah.
Yeah, I just not had the opportunity.
Are the experiences, are they increasing still to this day? Are they getting more intense, or are they leveling off? Is there any type of normality, like Hitchhiker's Guide normality, or is it getting increasing in any kind of way, decreasing, staying the same?
So my last experience with NN-DMT, with regular free-based DMT, was a breakthrough dose was several months ago. At the moment, I'm really focused on pursuing 5-MeO DMT and Bufo alvarius, and this has been new to me, Joe. I think you may be mixed up, because when we first spoke, I'd not tried 5-MeO DMT then, so I'm just.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I'd not tried. So I'm just several weeks into this. I said, springtime 2021. I'm gonna, make a commitment to start exploring with this substance. And now that I have, I'm thinking, as maybe I did with DMT, I should have started this a long time ago. It's a whole, it's a much more powerful experience. But and dare I say, I'm really enjoying the experiences, the investigations. It's So now, enjoying writing it up. Really enjoying writing up these experiences. So at the moment with NN-DMT, regular free-base DMT, it's kind of on the back burner for me at the moment.
Could you combine them with other types of we were talking earlier about astral travel and how they're different. That'd be hard to take it while you're having an out-of-body experience. But what if you were dreaming and then you were to take it somehow? What do you think that experience would be like?
I'm not sure if I understand what you're. So what I
mean, what if I'm kind of thinking of it more of what's the craziest thing you could possibly do with this kind of stuff? So what if you were doing an Inception type deal, or we talk about dreaming and astral travel a lot. So what if you were could you mix lucid dreaming with DMT, and what do you think the result would be? Could you somehow?
I don't think that's even possible. I mean, you have to be aware or awake to take the substance to begin with. Unless you're... I
tell you what though, I have had dreams within which I've smoked DMT, and it's just
in the dream,
most bizarre. Yeah, in the dream, it's the most bizarre thing. It's
somebody could put DMT can come in many forms, but somebody can give you DMT while you're in a dream state. That's not a ridiculous thing to say.
So. Okay, so you could be wired up to an IV drip and
anything like that. Yeah. So
it's possible. Yeah. I mean, one of the things I considered, and I think that this was in the original DMT on My Occult Mind, which is no longer available, but it's in terms of locations, what would happen if you were a pothole? You know what I mean by potholing, going down a cave system.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if you smoked it down there? I tell you what, there's no way I would do that. That's no way.
For skydiving or something.
Yeah, or in a submarine. It's you're 20,000 fathoms beneath the sea. And smoking on no way. I'm not smoking on a submarine. And it's well, what about International Space Station? Yeah, that would be interesting for sure.
They got to be doing that on the space station. That's something they're not telling us. There's no way they're not.
That would be really interesting. Yeah. So I mean, there's all these different sort of potential locations, but yeah, I mean, I may have some. I may be brave to some degree, but there's no way I'm doing that. not in a cave system.
So it's the maps that really interest me. Oh, sorry, John.
Do you think that that your work lines up with Strassman's theory that this is the spirit molecule, the thing that can get us into the spirit realm? So based on what you're telling me, it sounds to me more like it's not like you're going through the veil. It's more like you're just being presented by these entities. I mean, you have a really different theory about this than a lot of people do, I think.
You're being taught almost.
Yeah, and I mean, I've engaged with a lot of followers, a lot of really cool individuals around the world, and we've had this discussion, and yeah, I mean, a lot of them seem on board with what I'm saying. I mean, let's give another example. So, I smoke DMT in my bedroom. I have this breakthrough experience, and it looks like I'm in this futuristic factory. But not only am I in this futuristic factory, but I'm actually on a conveyor belt, and I can feel this conveyor belt moving. I mean, it's just real, it's unquestionable. It's looks like I'm in this factory. I can feel I'm on a conveyor belt because I can feel its motion beneath me. Mm-hmm. Now, either I have exited my body and gone to some factory in some realm somewhere, and I am on a conveyor belt, or I am still in my bedroom. I'm completely engulfed within the mind of a powerful non-physical entity that's completely, overwhelming my perception with this visual construct of this factory. And this illusion of motion is the powerful non-physical intelligence creating a rippling motion beneath my back and giving the illusion of motion. And I've had enough experiences like this to say that's what's happening. It's a beautiful illusion. It's either I've left my body and gone to a factory, or I'm on a conveyor belt, or I'm in my bedroom. Some things engulf me. It's imposing upon me visually, and through its powerful body of mind, it's creating this rippling effect beneath my back, and it's giving rise to the illusion of motion. And it's very convincing, but it is an illusion. It's a very powerful illusion too.
Huh.
So I mean, they're the choices, It's like you kind of like you take your pick. I went to a futuristic factory, or something very powerful emerged in my bedroom in response to me smoking DMT, and that imposed upon me visually this illusion, this wonderful illusion of motion, and that's what I'm saying, And I've got enough examples in my books to kind of say, well, this approach is worth considering.
Well, don't we release DMT when we dream, though?
Say again, Joe?
Don't we release DMT when we dream?
Yeah. I mean,
I've felt all kinds of stuff in my dreams.
Yeah. I mean, I've had dreams. I usually dream every night. Some of it just like mundane dream. And I don't want to say mundane, but there's aspects of your life in there. But I've had other dreams, and I've come out of it. I'm like, man, something was mixing it up in my mind last night. Something was like really toying with me, and I genuinely believe that that's so.
I mean, like this perspective that you have about you're not traveling, you're like contacting something is really cool. And as like if you think about humanity in that perspective, like the ancients kind of figured out how to take it through like shamanism and contact with these entities in other ways, and then discovered how to do it, which almost like if you kind of zoom out, it's like as a culture, as a species, we like made first contact, or we like kind of signaled to these other realms that like we're ready to be taught, and then like it's kind of look at where we are now, like on the radio talking about it, how many people are going to try it, and then what it's doing to, I don't know. It's really, you kind of blew my mind with that stuff. You know what I mean?
I think, if we had that kind of like remote control rewind button on human,
exactly.
If we go back far enough to a time when we were different to how we are now, there will have been, it's attested that there was a time when mankind and these otherworldly beings, were able to interact more freely than they do now. I mean, this is going back. This is becoming deeply occult, and it's going way back into the midst of time. When mankind was different to how he is now. But that seemed to be how it was. We had these interactions with these entities, and then slowly over aeons and aeons and aeons, as we've become more physical and less spiritual, and we've got these physical bodies, and we kind of shut off from those worlds. But how incredible, what a wonderful design of nature, that you can actually use nature to access these realms again, to contact these beings, these entities. It's just marvelous, I think.
It really is.
I don't know.
It's trippy to think about. It's just like really wild. Who's doing, like, who's it's like the snake eating its tail type thing. Who's like contacting who? And it's such a weird thing to wrap my head around. Like, really cool.
Have you ever done it without visuals, where you just don't see any visuals?
Oh yeah, I guess the overview of my experiences with NNDMT is, it begins, it's visual, and then the visuals kind of reduced and it was invasive. And again, you know, I know that sounds coercive and it puts a lot of people off, but I would do it all again at the drop of a hat, you know. And then beyond that, so that, I mean, with the invasive, you know, oftentimes there was no visual component. It was just very, very different then. It was, you know, it's this invasive aspect. But then when I went outside, it was more revelatory, and I don't mean revelatory in the sense of prophecy, you know, I'm not being given any revelations, but more in terms of the entity would reveal itself, you know, in otherwise consensus reality. I said like some hugely oversized, multifaceted diamond, you know, exuding tremendous power. You could sweep your arm through it. I mean, I had one of these experiences once. I've had, you know, quite a few of these experiences, and the natural reaction of my body was to start retching. You know, it's like being sick through shock. You know, I was like dry heaving, trying to vomit, but there was nothing in my stomach, and it was shock at what I was seeing. You know, it was like, gee, you know, once you've seen something like that, you can't unsee it. And it just convinces you that, you know, wow, you know, hidden from our sight, there are some really incredible creatures, you know, high-level creatures, you know, I mean, really, don't know.
So
it makes you question.
It shook up your paradigm so much that it made you feel ill.
I mean, one experience was like, you come away and it's like, I was dry heaving, you know, and it was so bizarre. I mean, it wasn't an unpleasant experience seeing the entity. It was amazing, but the shock to my body, it was like, you know, it's like a really bizarre, albeit natural reaction, you know.
Wow.
You know, see it's like that, and you start to question, you know, it's like, well, you know, as an individual, or not as an individual, but as a human, as a spiritual being trapped in matter, you start to think, well, I wonder if I'll be like that in, like, you know, I don't want to put a time scale on it, but countless aeons hence into the future, you know, could I find myself being in a spiritual realm and kind of responding to the, you know, psychic spike of a signal, somebody smoking DMT, you know, a human being. And I'm now imposing upon some human being, you know, it's like, okay, right, I'm going to show you a few tricks. Because, you know, it does seem to me with these entities, you know, they have a very, very deep bag of tricks. And despite all my research and my writings, I still maintain I don't think I've even scratched the surface of this mystery. It's infinitely deep and profound.
What do they want, do you think? Do they have a goal?
I think they're just part of nature. I think it's just, you know, people talk about the laws of nature. I think these are they. I think, you know, I mean, they're somewhere between man and God, you know. I mean, you know, I was reading up on, you know, I don't want to say demons because it means something very specific to Christian and Islamic thought. But when you look at the ancient interpretation
ultra-terrestrials
of demons, the different spelling, you know, with the A in it, then those entities, they partook of human affection and divine power. And when I read that, I was like, God, that just ticks the box of what these beings are. You know, they seem to completely understand the human psyche and have, you know, incredible working knowledge of human physiology. But they have this incredible sort of divine power. You know, I mean, you never want to fall out with these things. You know, it's like, you know, that really ticked a box, and that's something I will include in DMT and my Occult Mind 3. You know, I really want to try and, you know, pin the tail to the donkey, so to speak, of who these entities are or who they could be. And there's so much scope out there, you know, in esoteric and occult literature. You know,
there's a lot of dark takes too. Like not saying that they're demons necessarily, but like, I don't know. We've gotten so much from these other realms as far as like technology. How many people in Silicon Valley or like Steve Jobs or countless scientists who've like gotten inspiration or ideas or like cracked the code from psychedelic experiences and stuff. And it's like, are we being fed this information on purpose? Like, are entities outside of time, maybe guiding our trajectory somehow?
I absolutely think so. I think, you know, a lot of inventions come through inspiration, maybe otherworldly promptings.
Wow.
Very cool.
We got to take a break. We're going to open the phone lines up when we come back. 1-800-588-0335. Dick Kahn's here with us, the psychonaut of psychonauts. He's a man. We'll be right back.
Love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The truth is out there, and so are we. KTLK, Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Want to support Lighting the Void? Just go to lightingthevoid.com, sign up on our membership page, and pick your package where you can get exclusive content, readings, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Also, check out the LTV shop where you can get your very own altar box, t-shirt, shack, hoodie with sigil, Roswell-style t-shirt, racerback tees, socks, long-sleeve shirts, stickers, and beanies. Keep Lighting the Void airing 5 nights a week by going to lightingthevoid.com and support today.
Hey, is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
Telepath is a weekly digital newsletter filled with the latest paranormal news, trending topics, and fresh articles from some of the most popular critical thinkers in the community today. Stay informed on your favorite paranormal podcasts and live streaming talk shows. Interact with the Telepath and upload your paranormal story or pics. It could be featured in an upcoming edition. Sign up right now for the free Telepath newsletter at paranormal.radio. That's paranormal.radio.
Lighting the Void and the Esoteric Scholar present the Altar Box, crafted and designed for magicians by magicians. Now you can take your practice with you. This beautifully handcrafted mobile altar opens and works as an altar for any of your spiritual, religious, or ritual practices. Made to travel and work in small spaces, the Altar Box comes with hidden compartments for your practice tools and accessories. The Altar Box also comes with a dark scrying mirror for scrying and reverses and fits perfectly also as a chalkboard for any sigil, symbol, or whatever you see fit to sketch. The Altar Box is handcrafted to carry as a small suitcase, so you may take your practice with you, and the hinges are made with solid material and hinged with leather and rivets for extra strength. The mirror piece and floor plate fit perfectly when closed, so no movement will happen. Use it in small places as well. You can practice meditation, magic, planetary magic, sigil magic, scrying, ritual. Never be without your practice tools again, no matter the setting or where you go. Just go to lightingthevoid.com/altarbox and get yours while the sale lasts.
To the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been
All right, Dick Kahn, our guest here, author of DMT and My Occult Mind. You can follow him on Twitter at DMT_researcher, as well as go check out his book on Amazon. Get it. It's going to be a journey. We're taking our own journey tonight, talking to Dick here about this stuff. And Night Stalker, you asked a pretty good question during the break. Like, have you ever done DMT? Or this is like the best subject to talk about with this stuff. Like, have you ever done DMT? You know what I mean? Because there's so many questions you can ask.
So many. Yeah.
Have you ever done DMT around animals before? Like, is there anything different about that? Did the animals know, kind of thing? So,
you know, with DMT, no, I've not done it around animals. But you know, I mean, what's interesting is when I spoke earlier about, you know, the effect of DMT upon the user is it projects this substance from the user, and that's typically what attracts the entity. So I've done it in the garden, and this is really bizarre because when you become more and more familiar with this substance that emanates from you, you realize it has its own perceptive and sensing capacity. So I smoked in the garden. I've had a crowbird glide overhead, and I know this sounds bizarre, but I'm just going to report it because this is how it happened. You know, I could sort of feel remotely the oily dryness of its feathers, and I know that's crazy, but it's like that's what happened, you know. So you know.
What do you mean, like you were touching it, or you were in, like you were?
No,
the crow?
so I'm laid in the garden now. I've smoked the dose. This substance has emanated from me and filled the local sky, you know. And this crowbird glides overhead. I don't know, maybe 20-25 feet above me, and as it slowly glides overhead, this substance that's emanating from me, you know, it has a perceptive capacity, and I was able to feel the oily dryness of its feathers as it passed. So I'm not touching the bird, but this thing that's emanating from me that will emanate from all DMT users, you know, you smoke a sufficient dose, you smoke a dose, enabled me to feel the sort of, you know, the feathers of this bird. So it's I've not done DMT around. I know with psychedelics, you know, if you take psychedelics, and especially with pets, I had a pet dog, you know, coming from a night out after taking MDMA or mushrooms or acid, you know, the dog knows, you know, something wrong with my master, something different about my master.
I could just tell.
What about what about like a shared experience with a person though? Like, do you have like, if you're in the same room with somebody, can you kind of almost like telepathically like have that same kind of like extension of consciousness outside of yourself to the other person? Like, so
I've mostly smoked on my own. You know, it's only been a couple of times where I've smoked changa with friends at the conclusion of an ayahuasca ceremony. So, but from what I've read, then that can certainly take place. But you know, I can only speak anecdotally from what I've read others' experience, not my own. I've always preferred to research alone.
Yeah, so
I mean, principally because I'm a married family man, you know, and you know, as much as I connect with a lot of people around the world, I don't have any kind of like tripping buddies locally or anything like that.
Yeah.
Haven't done ayahuasca and DMT both. Do you think which one, if you would just say, well, one is more changed my life spiritually, is it the same? Or is it, you know? A lot of people talk about ayahuasca in our kind of group of especially in the kind of new age world, right? You hear about that a lot, but then DMT seems like it always has the craziest, more intense kind of wildest stories, and I think we all want both. But personally, for me, I want the spiritual experience too.
I think for me, because I've tried DMT so many times, you know, I have gotten a lot from it. It's changed me positively as an individual. That's my takeaway from it. But I think having experienced ayahuasca, I think, you know, there's more to be had from ayahuasca in terms of therapy, healing, therapeutic benefits. I really, really, really like ayahuasca. You know, if you were to say, Dick, what do you want to do? You know, we can go for a weekend smoking DMT and changa, or we can go to an ayahuasca retreat. I go to that ayahuasca retreat every time.
Why is that? Based on the visuals, or based on how you feel?
I think because it's a slower experience. It's a powerful experience, but it's not as intense and rapid as smoked NN-DMT, but more so the traditions that come with it. That kind of like you're with a group, but in the experience, you kind of like separate to that group. And the songs, the traditional South American Icaros songs, which bear in mind, it's not songs of native South American language. These are songs that are being brought back from that realm. And when you're in that inebriated state, I just marvel at that music and those songs. They just get that state so much. And just beautiful. I mean, initially I was put off. I thought, I don't want to be purged, I don't want to be puking into a bucket and then running, to some bathroom somewhere. But that's just such a small part of the experience. I really, really like ayahuasca. It's beautiful, really beautiful substance.
Yeah, that's what most people say. They're afraid of the purge. Yeah.
Is it the same? Is it the same as a DMT experience where you're contacting these things? You're not traveling anywhere?
Oh yeah, I mean for me, yeah. I mean it's less obvious, I mean, if I'd have pursued ayahuasca as much, say as I have with NN-DMT, I don't think I would have arrived at the same conclusions. I think what I saw through NN-DMT, I wouldn't see it through ayahuasca. The intensities is of the experience and what it can bring from those other realms. It was more obvious. With ayahuasca, you're still interacting with those kind of like powerful non-physical beings, but it's for me, I can see why it would be less obvious to somebody, but for me, having experience with the NN-DMT, it's clear what's happening. It's like the first time I tried it, I was in a big tent, shall we say, with a group of about 20. And within about 15 minutes drinking this substance, I could see and feel this entity kind of like, coming at me, this psycho-spiritual fluid, and it's coming to me and merging with me. And I had 4 or 5 hours where I was just in profound ecstasy. I mean, just chewing the pillow in pleasure and bliss. It was just beautiful. I mean, it's like after that, there was no reason I would not go back and want to try ayahuasca again. More recently, I tried it, and I went to the same location, and they're good people. And I said to the host, I want the strongest dose you can give me. And I got a mug full of the stuff, and when that stuff's strong, you kind of like, okay, yeah, you get it's like it kind of like smoked DMT breakthrough. The substance is not to be underestimated. I really got what I asked for, shall we say.
Did you have any like pretty? What I think? I think honestly, the hardest things in our lives are the fears that we have to face, especially things that make us feel isolated, alone, or whatever. Just emotional fear. And I wonder how much of that people go through with these ayahuasca experiences, because I would think spirituality has a lot to do, at least in my opinion, with balancing out some of these things in your life, right? Not just having a great fun time and just seeing magnificent things. Like being able to deal with things is a different thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so I had one experience on ayahuasca where, it was just full on party. It was just beautiful, I was kind of like observing this pinball machine with this, operative beside it. And it's like I've won the lottery. There's confetti, there's champagne corks, there's bright lights. But this guy stood behind this pinball machine. He's like yawning. And he's like, oh man, like saying, this is good, isn't it? But we can do this all night. But really, you're not learning anything. And long story short, you know, I was invited to go and face my own soul, and I did. And, you know, I ended up crying my eyes out, you know, but it's true, you know, you can have all that wonderful, you know, song and light and you know, that wonderful playfulness, but really what are you learning? You know, it's ultimately unenlightening. But yeah, I mean, I accepted the invitation. You see how it was an invitation. It was not like, you know, it was not forced upon me. It's like, you know, you can look at this all night, or we can go next door and you can face your own soul. I said, all right, let's go. And within moments, I was bawling my eyes out. You know, because you start to really start to look at aspects of your life, you know, your relationship with your wife, you know, how often you look at pornography and what are you doing, you know, how is that pornography influencing you? And, you know, it becomes very real and very raw. And, I cried my eyes out.
Yeah. It takes you to the one place where you got to deal with, because I think, I don't really care what a lot of people say. This whole spiritual journey has to do with love and union, right? And so when we take ourselves away from love or union, I think that's good that teaches you that stuff, right? Like it's trying to show you like you're moving away from what you really truly want in your heart. Why are you doing that? You know?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
More lately with 5-MeO DMT and Bufo alvarius, I feel that's really straightened me out. You know, I mean, you know, nobody's perfect. We're always evolving,
right?
And there's always room for improvement. And you know, with these substances especially, it's really forced me to focus on some of my habits, some of my let's say sexual inclinations, you know, between me and my wife, you know, and fantasies and that, and whether they're ultimately healthy in the long term. And it really puts the magnifying glass on that, and you end up sort of asking yourself, is this good? Should I be doing this? You know, where's it taking me in terms of my spiritual evolution? And I mean, you know, it can get quite ugly in terms of dealing with your own personal demons, but you know, this is human nature, isn't it? You know, either we rule the demons and we incorporate the demons into us to our benefit, or they rule us to our demise.
You know, it's funny you talk about that too, because in the astral realm, I brought this up several times, and it just keeps coming up. And when things just keep coming up, I start to see the patterns and stuff. And he talked about in the astral realm that there was an entity of this parasitic like looking entity full of just mingled up bodies of people that were so off balance in their sexual natures and stuff, you know, that it became a nasty parasitic thing. You know,
that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, there's some experiences in my book, 2 or 3, where that really rings a bell with me, where, you know, kind of like something within the bedroom has been like hanging down, like it hanging down from another realm. Mm-hmm. and it's this psycho-spiritual substance, but it looks awful. It's such a bedraggled, repulsive mess. And within that, you can hear all different voices. You know, you hear snippets of Western voices. You know, I've heard English voices, American accents, and it just seemed like, I don't know, like a pit of astral shells.
Yeah.
All you know, all writhing, and I was like, oh my God, you know, it's like, you know, it kind of makes you consider what are the occult mechanics of the post-death state, you know, because you know, the personality is not the real you, you know, so the personality ultimately as an astral shell, it's got to go somewhere.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I was like,
oh man, that's a cool thought. Wow.
Beyond this thing. And you know what was even more amazing is, after observing it for a few minutes, and I did feel repulsed observing this, is this entity I'd mentioned earlier, that the entity that moves like a giant rayfish, like a skate, it come and kind of corralled all this mess up out of the bedroom and tidied it up. And I don't know, I don't want to like say,
listen, man, this is creepy.
Auto,
you know what? You should read Robert Monroe's books, I'm telling you, and a light bulb's going to go off in your head.
Yeah, I've read it.
This is a comic book though. This is like some high level sci-fi stuff. This is like the best stuff there is.
Well, I mean, Robert Monroe's pretty sci-fi, man. Like that's what you're talking about, right? Like that, where he was talking about that astral entity, right? That did that.
Yes, I mean, what you said there really sort of struck a chord with me. It really put me in mind of those experiences. But I mean, people with DMT, you're attracting, astral entities. Well, hang on, there's more than the astral realm.
Right.
There's the devishanic realm, which is it's a way of saying the angelic realm. So it's it's not a foregone conclusion that smoking DMT is putting you in touch with astral entities.
What he talked about, and let me see if this is making sense to you, because what he talked about in there was that there was these beings that are in these realms that fed off of our love, whether it was sexual forces or just love, period. Like if it wasn't genuine, or it would try to create things that weren't genuine. You could say like porn or whatever, right? And feed off of that energy. And it was very parasitic, right? And he saw this thing. There's countless people seeing stuff like that, though, nowadays in stories. So
I don't doubt there are things like that. I think for me, with my DMT experience, speaking for myself, I don't think I'm attracting those entities. The entities I'm attracted or have attracted seem to be, full of very powerful, wise, intelligent, compassionate. That said, with these states and these mindsets, you've got to have your wits about you. So the conclusion of a DMT experience, there have been times when I've kind of felt extremely vulnerable. I mean, you are opening yourself up to occult influences, to hidden influences. And if your mind takes a negative turn and you can't stop that or deal with that, then for sure you're potentially going to be attracting those kind of things. So, it's like Terence McKenna said, you've got to have your wits about you. And look, I mean, in DMT and my occult mind too, I have documented as explicitly as I dare some experience that for sure left a scar on my mental health. But at the time, it was really, I was terrified, I was scared for my own mental health. It's like, it's worrisome. But looking back now, I think it's made me a better person, like a sports person, playing sport. If you don't get any injury, you got to question, are you playing the game properly? So, so I will have to attest, I have left a scar on my mental health. But you know what? From doing that, I learned more about myself and more about those realms or those entities and those states than I did with all the playful stuff. But I mean, it's definitely, be curious, be courageous, but don't go in there thinking, oh yeah, blah blah blah. I'll see what it's all about. It's there are. I don't want to say there's dangers there, but it would be a fool that went into it unthinkingly.
This is kind of a weird one.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Aubrey Marcus, I think, talks about on either ayahuasca or DMT, I'm not sure which one it is, but he encountered like the embodiment of like an insect. I don't know if it's like a spider or like an ant, but he talked to like the collective consciousness of like of an insect, like almost like the higher mind of it. Have you ever like encountered like a recognizable entity like that, or something that you could like point out as like this?
I haven't, and I believe the experience can happen. I believe it went down just as was said. I mean, like, when I smoke it, I never know what's going to happen. I just report it faithfully, but no, I've not had that, and that's what I mean. It's like I don't think I've scratched the surface of this mystery. It's so deep and profound, but it's
700 more. Right.
I hope I've got to go back to the NNDMT. I'm sure about that. I've got to include some more experiences in my third book. So so maybe I'll get to chat to the insects. But don't doubt it happened exactly as described.
Are there patterns? I got on YouTube out of curiosity because I was preparing myself for this journey, and I did run across like 4 or 5, maybe 4 or 5 videos of people saying that they saw a cross pattern, almost if they were laying down in some type of machine or something, and they could see a cross. And I don't know how much of this stuff is influence and how much of it's not, but are there,
like in the sky, you mean?
Well, yeah, that like almost like they were talking as if they were laying in some type of, how they were explaining it, like a bed that they could see, or they were laying down and they saw people talking over them, and they couldn't hear what they were saying, but there was a cross above the glass or something. And I saw like, like
I've seen that.
Almost like they were in a simulation, I think.
Yeah.
And I wonder
like
if their mind is kind of making that experience, or if that's like a real thing that you hear about that people are saying that happens.
So what comes to mind, having heard that, is I remember smoking at the beach once. I was on some sand dunes, and I was with my family. I was like, okay, to my wife, I'm gonna go up there, keep the boys away from me. I'm gonna go and smoke some DMT. And on these dunes, and I smoked DMT, and it's like, geez, this like it's like a net, like a grid work of cells, like lozenge cells, and it's like I'd woken up some flipping entity that was covering these entire dunes, and it was like not pleased with me. Oh, you could sense, it was like, could feel this energy. It was like, what the hell are you doing, here on my dunes, kind of thing. And this network of lozenge-like cells is this grid pattern. As far as I could see, it just covered these dunes. I was like, wow. And I was happy to get out of that experience. It was like, it's remarkable, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. But it's like, you never know what's going to happen after smoking the substance. But yeah, I mean, what you described put me in mind of that experience, and I can see why some people come away and say, I've seen the code, or I've seen the Matrix.
Right.
What I'm saying is, whatever bizarre entity was there, on or near those dunes in its own realm, it was able to manifest in this realm in response to me smoking DMT. And wow, what a sight, but clearly it wasn't enamored by my presence, I mean, for all I know, it was like my smoking DMT, it might be like noise, I could be creating like a noise nuisance to that being in its own.
There's a little kid coming in to make a mess. Like.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Joe, yours sounds like people are seeing behind, like the outside the cage, like the experiment, like they're seeing like the scientists on the like looking down
kind
at the
of
terrarium.
what some of these people were talking about. Like they could see, like like when you wake up in a hospital bed or a little bit or something, but they had a glass or some kind of door over them, and there was a cross there. But I think that I wonder how much of this is influenced, because if enough people start saying, I saw this thing, because you know how many people were looking for machine elves and the chrysanthemum and all that stuff after Terrence McKenna. Yeah. So I wonder how much our mind works with the substance to produce things,
Well, I think there could be thematic experiences, I mean, Alex Gray's art, he's got that room with the faces, I mean, you could argue, and I certainly would argue that there can be thematic experiences if one uses, having an interaction with a particular being, and it's showing that human, a certain landscape or whatever, then there's no reason why that same powerful non-physical entity couldn't do it with another human and show them the exact same realm. So I think there are thematic experiences, whether it's machine elves or some of the artwork that's coming out. I mean, Incy Digras, the American artist, some of his artwork for sure. I mean, I've encountered those, let's call them machine elves during ayahuasca experiences. I mean, exactly the same. So there's certainly thematic aspects to these experiences.
Wow, man, we only got like a couple of minutes left. I know we got to roll out of here actually, because we're right on the dot here. But do you have any links, man, you want to share with everybody? Their website links, anything like that, please, because I think everybody should read your work.
Well, yeah, I mean, just hit me up on social media. I appreciate the Twitter shout out. I'm on Instagram, DMT Researcher, and I just want to say thanks to everyone and anyone who has or intends to read my book. And if you do enjoy it, positive review on Amazon will be hugely beneficial to a self-published author. I just want to say thanks very much. It's a pleasure and a privilege for me to be in a position where I can promote these substances, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not here promoting myself. I'm promoting these substances and an occult interpretation of the experience.
Well, man, you're my favorite psychonaut, so you just know that.
Mind-blowing stuff.
Glad to have you on.
Great stuff, dude.
Thank you, guys.
All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same channel. We get the week kicked off here right with Dick Kahn. Stay tuned for The Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. He's got a little bit more travel log for you. Good night. Sweet dreams.
Yeah.